Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bible Summary Series. Today, we're starting in Exodus chapter 1. This is the story of Jacob's descendants who settled in Egypt. Israel took his 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, along with their families, a total of 70 people, and joined Joseph in Egypt. Time passed, and eventually Joseph died, along with all his brothers and their generation. But their descendants, the Israelites, increased abundantly. They had lots and lots of children. In fact, they multiplied so much that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. After a while, a new king came to power in Egypt who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. "Look," he said to his people, "the people of Israel now outnumber us, and they are stronger than we are. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them. Otherwise, they'll keep multiplying, and if a war breaks out, they'll join our enemies and fight against us, and then escape the country." So the Egyptians set taskmasters over the Israelites to wear them down with hard labor. And the sons of Israel built Ramesses and Pithom as storage cities for Pharaoh. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more they multiplied and grew, until the Egyptians came to dread the people of Israel. So the Egyptians worked them without mercy. They made their lives bitter and forced them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the hard work in the fields. Indeed, they were cruel and ruthless in their demands. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, who were named Shiphrah and Puah, "When you are helping the Hebrew woman during childbirth, you are to kill the baby if it's a boy. If it's a girl, she may live." However, the midwives feared God more than they feared the king, so they didn't follow his orders, and they let the baby boys live. The king called them in and demanded, "Why have you done this? Why have you allowed the boys to live?" "Because the Hebrew women aren't like the Egyptian woman," the midwives answered. "They're vigorous and give birth before we even arrive." So God was good to the midwives, and the people of Israel continued to multiply and became very strong. And because the midwives feared God and saved the babies, God gave them families of their own. Eventually, Pharaoh gave a chilling order to all his people: "Throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the river, but you may let the girls live." In Exodus chapter 2, a man from the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman. Soon after, she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a beautiful, healthy child, she hid him for 3 months to protect him from the Egyptians. But when she could no longer hide her baby boy, she took a basket made of papyrus reeds, sealed it with tar and pitch to make it waterproof, and placed her son inside. She then carefully set the basket among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River, and Miriam, the baby's sister, stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe, and she and her maidens walked along the river's bank. Suddenly, she noticed the ark nestled among the reeds and sent a servant to retrieve it. When the Pharaoh's daughter opened the basket, she saw the baby, and the little boy began to cry. Moved with compassion, she exclaimed, "This is one of the Hebrew children." At that moment, his sister ran to Pharaoh's daughter and asked him, "Shall I go and find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" "Go," Pharaoh's daughter said. So Miriam quickly fetched her mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took her son back and nursed him. As the boy grew, she returned him to the princess, who adopted him as her son, and Pharaoh's daughter named him Moses, for she said, "I drew him out of the water." Many years later, when Moses had grown up, he went out to visit his people, the Hebrews, and he saw how hard they were forced to labor. One day, he witnessed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw there were no witnesses, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. The next day, Moses found two Hebrews fighting against each other, and he asked the guilty one, "Why are you striking your fellow Hebrew?" The man retorted, "Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Are you intending to kill me like you killed that Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought to himself, "Surely everyone knows what I did." And sure enough, when Pharaoh heard of the incident, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled for his life, and he went to live in the land of Midian. When he arrived, he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian, who lived in the area, had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water from that well, and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But other shepherds came and chased them away. And when Moses saw this, he jumped up, helped the girls, and rescued them from the shepherds. Then he drew enough water for their flocks. When they returned home earlier than usual, their father, Reuel, asked, "Why have you returned so early today?" "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds," they exclaimed. "He even drew enough water for us and watered the flock." "Where is he?" Reuel asked his daughters. "Why did you leave the man? Go and invite him to have bread with us." Moses accepted the invitation, and he settled down and lived with the man. In time, Reuel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah to be his wife, and after a while Zipporah gave birth to a son, whom Moses named Gershom, for he exclaimed, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land." Time passed, and the king of Egypt died. But the Israelites continued to groan under their heavy burden of slavery. They cried out for help, and their cry rose up to God. God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He looked down upon the Israelites and took pity on them.